Hello and welcome to the preview as we look ahead to today's game against Plymouth Argyle at Portman Road. I'm delighted to say we're joined by former town captain Matt Holland. How are you doing, Matt?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Can't complain. Paul Cook's been in charge for 2 games now. What have you made of his first 2 games?
Let's call it three. I know he was in the
3.
stand.
Yeah.
I know he was in the stand at Accrington, but that was obviously a good win, a good 3 points to kick off with. Disappointing result at Gillingham, and then a decent point, I guess, against a promotion rival in Lincoln as well. I guess the frustrating thing from Paul's point of view is that they've conceded the first goal in all 3 of those games. So that's something he'll probably look at and see if they can improve on. But I think he's quickly recognising what he needs to do and the challenges that lie ahead.
Yeah, he's made no secret of it in his press conferences that how difficult it's been. He came back off the bus, arrived back from Accrington. Wednesday they had it off. Then the players who played against Accrington didn't train on the Thursday. And with the Saturday, Tuesday hectic schedule, it's just been so difficult for him to implement his ideas onto the training pitch, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a period in a couple of weeks' time when they'll have a couple of midweeks when he'll be able to do a bit of work on the training ground. It's just been a mad season. It's just obviously because of the situation, the pandemic, and how it's panned out. The games have come thick and fast, and they are virtually, every other day, and they keep coming. So it's been really difficult for him this period. But I think in a few weeks' time, he'll be able to sit back and have a couple of midweeks where he can have a little analyse and work on the training ground.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he has said that he's sort of targeting that week between Portsmouth and Wigan as well. It will be a big week on the training pitch. I think he said that in his press conference earlier in the week. He's also made no secret that we just don't create enough chances and haven't scored enough goals this season, which, it's probably hard to disagree with that, isn't it?
No, you can't argue with it. Obviously, that is a problem. Need to score more goals, and I'm not just blaming the strikers or talking about the strikers. I think that responsibility comes all over the pitch as well. I think it's important that you get contributions from all over. So that's something that has to improve. I know he's talked about getting more crosses into the box, and that actually could be useful today against Plymouth, because looking at their recent form and just looking at their goals that they've conceded, a lot of them have been from crosses. So if that's something that he's worked on the training ground in the limited time that he's had available, then maybe crosses into the box are something we can thrive from.
Yeah, I think you just touched upon Plymouth's recent form there. They've been in somewhat of a slump. I think they've lost 4 of their last 5 games, conceding 12 in that period as well. Ryan Lowe came out after their defeat to Wigan on Tuesday night and said that he might have to sort of look and tweak the tactics a bit, because they do play quite an expansive style and they might just have to become slightly more resolute and not leave themselves so open.
Yeah, they've had a few peaks and troughs this season. Just looking at their results, they've had periods where they've had some bad, results and lost a few on the spin. And then I think they went 9 unbeaten, and then obviously this little run they've had of late as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if they came and sat in a bit and said it's down. So it wouldn't surprise me on the back of the form that they've been in that he is a little bit more defensive and sacrifices that open style. I know he's good friends with Paul Cook as well. Yeah. I know they're both big Liverpool fans and have followed Liverpool quite a bit. So yeah, that'd be an interesting subplot as well. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he is slightly more defensive today.
How can that change? How hard does that become for Ipswich to have prepared for in the week? You'll obviously have seen Ryan's comments in the week, and you're used to them. The analysis guys will be looking at you. You're used to seeing them playing the same way, but how difficult is that to prepare for?
Well, I think that the key for me is being intense with the ball and doing things quickly. I think too often, I haven't seen loads of games this season because often I'm working at the same time. But in the games that I have seen, I think there's times where I felt our build-up play has been a little bit slow and a bit predictable. And I think particularly against a team that sits in, you can get lulled into that sense and just keep the ball for keeping the ball's sake. But I think it's important that we take risks, take chances, get runners beyond the strikers at times. So I think it's important that we do things at a good pace. I think that would be key to winning the game.
I suppose the other side of the coin, not really worrying about what Plymouth are going to do. Let's impose ourselves on Plymouth, really.
Absolutely, and I think that's Paul's philosophy as well. I think Paul wants to play an open, attractive style of football, and he wants to play on the front foot. I know he's sort of asking his team to be a bit higher up the pitch and try and squeeze from the front. So I think that's the way he wants to play as well. So yeah, I think it is a case of not worrying about the opposition too much, just worry about us.
Definitely. Luke Jeffcott for them's been a man in form this season. 18 goals in all competitions. I think he's fourth top goal scorer in the league, so he's there, no doubt their main goal for it. Yeah,
although he hasn't scored in 8, so let's hope we can keep him quiet as well. He has been in good form, and I think he's only very young, and someone that I think a few clubs have been looking at and quite fancy taking. But he is on a spell where he hasn't scored now for 8 games, and I think the manager Ryan Lowe is a striker himself and has been giving him a bit of advice just to keep doing what he's doing. But hopefully that barren run continues and we can keep him quiet.
Yeah, I think Ryan said that they are getting the chances. It's just about taking them as a striker. That's what you want to have, isn't it? You keep getting the service, keep getting the chances, chipping away at it.
It's interesting actually because I was talking, or I heard Darren Bent talking about when he was a striker and missing chances and going through a spell where he wasn't scoring. He then stopped doing practice really in training because he felt like he was practicing the wrong things. I'd have been of the other opinion. I'd have wanted to keep practicing, keep trying to hit the target until I got it right. But it's interesting that mentality of a forward and what it's like. But yeah, it's tough when you're going through a period when you're not scoring goals and you start snatching at chances and making wrong decisions. Hopefully he continues that.
What about Plymouth? Who will they be looking at from Town's point of view as looking at the danger men?
Well, I think obviously our midfield, I think they need to get tight to. It depends who plays. Obviously, I think Finn Downs will play. He's come back into it now. Everyone knows I'm a big fan of him. Obviously, Teddy Bishop, I think if they can get tight to him. And James Norwood, I mean, I think, I know he hasn't scored in the last couple of games, but he was on a decent run and looking lively. So I think he's getting to a period in the season where he's looking like he's getting up to the level. So maybe they need to keep him quiet as well.
Just a word on Chambo, Matt, who's obviously just at Gillingham. He broke into the top 10 appearance makers of all time at the club. Just a word on him from a fellow captain.
Well, congratulations, first and foremost. It takes some doing. It's not an easy thing to do to stay at a club for as long as he has done. And there's lots of things that can go wrong, injuries, form. And it's tough when we've been going through a tough period the last few seasons. There's no doubt about that. To take that upon yourself as a skipper, you take it personally. And I know Luke's one of those who's exactly like that, loves the club. So congratulations, really, on a magnificent achievement, and long may it continue.
Absolutely, echo those words. Just wanted to get your score prediction, Matt, for today's game.
I'm gonna go for a 2-0 win. I think the form that they're in. I just fancy us to get the 3 points. It's a big end to the season for us. The games that we've got left, there's a lot of teams in the bottom half of the table that we're playing. So it's a really good chance for us, I think, to still go up this year. Whether that's through the playoffs or not, I don't know. But the fixtures look all right. And obviously with the positivity of the new manager coming in, I fancy 3 points, and it might just take us into the playoffs this week.
Brilliant. Hope you're right, Matt. We've just got some questions from some supporters that hope you don't mind me putting to you. So the first one's from Natalie, who asks, what was your favourite European away trip / game?
Oh, wow. I think Helsingborg's maybe stands out. Obviously for the result. The night afterwards was pretty good as well. I mean, a lot of people will say Milan, but got beat. So it's never as nice when you lose a game. When you win, it's easier to celebrate. I think that the Helsingborgs was a pretty good one. Did you get to celebrate with the fans after that? Did you see them on the night? I can't remember doing. I think some of the lads might have done. There's certainly some of the staff maybe in the bar perhaps enjoyed the company of the supporters. But no, I don't remember it personally.
Great days. Next one's from Tom, who asks, why, since retiring, why haven't you gone into management? And is it something that you still might consider?
It's something I would never rule out. There's always a bit of you thinks, what if I had a go at it? I think when I finished playing, it was a case of leaving as many doors open as possible and seeing which one opened. And it just seemed to be that the media door opened wider than the management side. When I was at Charlton, I was offered the reserve team manager's job by Ian Dowie, and I was still only 33, and I felt like it was too early for me, so I didn't take it at that time. If at 35, when I did finish, a job had come up and someone had said, come and be my number two, or then perhaps I would have gone for it. I did sort of half go for the Ipswich job when Paul Jewell went. I sort of spoke to the club then, but I think the mind was made up that they wanted someone a bit more senior, someone who'd been there, seen it and done it. And I think the club probably needed that at that time anyway. So whilst that, it's probably unlikely because I've been out for such a long time now, there's always a bit of you thinks, what if?
You've got your coaching badges, and it's still something that you still study, really?
Yeah, well, I study games a lot because obviously a lot of the stuff I do now is co-commentary. So in co-commentary, the commentator sort of tells you who's on the ball and what's happening. And my job really is to tell you why it's happening. So I'm still looking at the tactics and I try and look at the games through the eyes of a manager and how they might change things in a match. If things aren't going particularly well, what can they do to alter the game and how it might change? So I'm always looking at it from a manager's point of view, I suppose, and a tactical side of it. But as I say, I've been out a long time and I think it's probably unlikely, but I never like to say no.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting. Last final questions from Harry, who asks, after finishing 5th in the Premiership in the first season that we got promoted, what do you think was behind the sort of dramatic drop in form in the second season that saw us get relegated?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons, to be honest. I think the UEFA Cup didn't help in the fact that the structure of the week then became different. The Thursday games, the extra games. Perhaps we took our eye off the Premier League a little bit. As soon as we got knocked out of the UEFA Cup, I think we won 7 out of 8 games and gave ourselves a chance of staying up. A few of us dipped, I think, below the level of the first season in the Premier League. A lot has been talked about, Finidi and Matteo coming in. Perhaps there was an element of the fact that they came in on bigger money than a lot of the players who'd been there for a long time, and not that they were bad lads in any way, shape, or form. They weren't, but maybe it did affect the harmony in the dressing room a little bit. So I think there's a lot of contributory factors to it, and it's a big regret really that season. Because I loved the club. Everyone knows that, and ultimately going down meant that I was sold 12 months later.
It's not the first and not the last club to sort of suffer. I know what everyone calls it, second season syndrome. I mean, you look at Sheffield United this season. There's plenty of clubs that go through that high, and then it ends up completely different in the second season.
I think it is difficult to say. Obviously, we've just seen Chris Wilder go as well. So it's I think it is tougher. Teams get used to playing against you. They get to know you a bit more, your strengths, your weaknesses, and I think there's the analysis from the opposition on you changes, and so they know how to counteract you. And as I say, I just think it's difficult to keep those levels. And I think a few of us dipped below the level that we needed.
Brilliant. Thanks for that insight, Matt. And thank you for joining us on the preview for today's game against Plymouth. I hope your score prediction's correct and we end up with 3 points this afternoon. Town fans, thank you very much for watching at home. Don't forget you can still buy your iFollow match passes for today's game for £10. Thanks for joining us.